Everyone tells introverts to stop overthinking, but that's not the right advice at all. Because what looks like overthinking from the outside is something completely different on the inside. Your brain isn't stuck. It isn't anxious. It isn't broken. It's doing something that most people's brains simply don't do and never will. And here's what nobody tells you. The reason you can't just let it go isn't a weakness. It's the exact same reason you understand people more deeply than almost anyone around you. Today, I want to show you what's actually happening inside the introvert mind and why it's been misunderstood your entire life. Here's something most people, including most introverts, get completely wrong about this. They think the problem is that they think too much. But introverts don't have a thinking problem. They have a processing style that the world has spent decades mislabeling. Neuroscientist Dr. Marty Olson-Laney, in her research on the introvert brain, found something that changes everything. The introvert brain uses a longer neural pathway for processing information, running through areas associated with memory, planning, and self-reflection before producing a response. Extrovert brains use a shorter, faster route. You're not slower, you're going deeper. And here's what that means. When you replay a conversation at midnight, when you sit with a decision for 3 days while someone else makes it in 3 minutes, when you feel things long after the moment has passed, that's not anxiety. That's your brain doing what it was built to do. The problem isn't how you think. The problem is that you've been taught to treat your own mind like a malfunction. By the end of this video, you'll know the 3 specific ways the introvert brain processes differently, and why each one has been misread as a problem when it's actually a strength working overtime. The first difference: introverts process experiences on a delay. Most people feel something, react to it, and move on. That's the extrovert processing loop: fast, external, immediate. Introverts feel something, and then the real processing begins later, in the quiet, when everyone else has already forgotten the moment. Here's the crazy part. This is actually a documented neurological difference. The introvert brain continues processing stimuli long after the external event is over. You're not rehashing. You're finishing a process that your brain started but couldn't complete in real time. This is why you think of the perfect response 3 hours after a conversation. Not because you're slow, but because your brain was still working on it. This is why you leave a party feeling fine and wake up the next day feeling drained. You weren't tired when you left. The processing bill just came due overnight. And this is why people say, just let it go, and you physically cannot, because your brain hasn't finished with it yet. Telling an introvert to stop replaying something is like telling someone to stop digesting food. The process is happening whether you choose it or not. What helps isn't forcing yourself to stop. It's giving your brain what it needs to actually complete the loop. The second difference: introverts have a richer inner world, and that world has a volume problem. Stay with me here, because this one is the most misunderstood. Extroverts process life externally, through conversation, action, response. When something happens to them, they talk about it, and the talking is the processing. Introverts process internally. The conversation happens inside. And because the introvert inner world is so detailed, so layered, so full of nuance and possibility, it's also louder than most people's inner worlds. This isn't rumination. This is a high-fidelity internal experience that the outside world has no idea is happening. Here's what this looks like for you specifically. Someone says something offhand, a comment that they've already forgotten 30 seconds later. You carry it for 3 days. Not because you're sensitive in the weak sense of the word, but because your brain registered it at a depth they never intended, noticed the 17 things it could mean, and is still deciding which interpretation is true. That's not overthinking. That's processing at resolution most people don't have access to. The cost is real. It takes energy, it takes time, it can feel like you're trapped inside your own head. But here's what you need to understand. That same depth is exactly what makes you the person people come to when they need to actually be understood. Not just heard, understood. The third difference. Introverts feel the weight of what's unsaid, and their brain won't let it go unprocessed. This one is the quietest difference, and the heaviest. Most people in a conversation track what's being said. Introverts track what's being said, what's not being said, what the other person's tone suggests, what changed from last time, and what the silence after that sentence meant. You're not paranoid. You're reading at a frequency most people don't transmit on. And because you pick up so much, things other people walk right past, your brain has more material to process, more data to sort, more meaning to weigh. This is why you leave a simple dinner with more to think about than the people who were sitting next to you. They experienced the dinner. You experienced the dinner and everything underneath it. Here's where it gets hard. Sometimes the things you pick up, the shift in energy, the slight edge in someone's voice, the moment someone looked away when they answered, are real. Your gut is accurate in a way that consistently surprises people who know you. And sometimes your brain takes that signal and runs further with it than the evidence supports. Not because you're wrong, because you're working with more data than you can always verify. The skill isn't learning to ignore those signals, it's learning to hold them lightly. To say, I noticed this. I don't know yet what it means. I'll stay open. One question that genuinely helps. Am I processing something real right now, or am I generating scenarios from incomplete information? If the answer is real, trust it. If the answer is incomplete, give it time before you decide. 3 differences. Processing on a delay, not rehashing, finishing. A richer inner world that runs louder than most. And picking up more signal than the people around you ever realize. None of this is overthinking. It's a different operating system, one that the world consistently mistook for a bug when it was always a feature. And I want to say something directly to you, because I think you've needed to hear it. You have spent years trying to make your mind quieter, trying to think less, trying to be less, trying to match the processing speed of people whose brains work fundamentally differently than yours. That was never the goal. That was never even possible. The goal, the real one, is to understand how your mind actually works so you can work with it instead of against it. So you can stop apologizing for the depth and start recognizing it for what it is. You don't think too much. You think at a level most people never reach. That comes with real costs. The late nights, the energy it takes to be in the world, the way a single conversation can follow you for days. But it also comes with something those people will never have. The ability to see people clearly, to understand what's actually happening beneath the surface, to sit with complexity without needing to simplify it into something easier. That's not a problem. That's you. Save this if something in here finally put words to something you've felt for a long time. And if someone in your life keeps telling you that you think too much, maybe send it to them. Not to argue, just to show them what's actually happening in there. I'll see you in the next one.